afternoon of August the 2nd, 216 BC, the largest army Rome had ever assembled marched confidently onto a wide-open plain in southern Italy. 80,000 soldiers, the finest fighting force the ancient world had ever produced. Their orders were simple and clear. Find Hannibal Barca and destroy him once and for all. By sunset that same day, 70,000 of them were dead. What happened on that plain in those few hours was so complete, so devastating, and so difficult to explain that Roman survivors who made it home could barely find the words to describe it. This is the story of the Battle of Cannae, and the truth of what happened there will change everything. You thought you knew about the nature of military genius. To understand the full weight of what happened at Cannae, you first need to understand what Rome was in 216 BC. Rome at this moment was not yet the empire that history remembers, but it was already the dominant military power of the Mediterranean world, a republic built on discipline, organization, and an army that had never truly been broken. The Roman legion was the most feared military unit of its era. Soldiers who trained constantly, fought in tight, coordinated formations, and followed orders with a discipline that most armies of the ancient world could not match. Rome had built its power and its reputation on the battlefield. And it had rarely, if ever, faced a military situation it could not eventually overcome through sheer determination and superior organization. When Hannibal Barca crossed the Alps from Carthage in 218 BC with his army and began winning battles on Roman soil, the Roman Senate was furious, but not yet truly afraid. They had lost some battles. Rome had lost battles before. They would simply send a bigger army and end this matter decisively. What they fundamentally failed to understand was that you're not dealing with an ordinary opponent. Hannibal Barca was by any historical measure one of the most gifted military minds who ever lived. Born in Carthage in 247 BC, the son of a great Carthaginian general, Hannibal had studied warfare from childhood with the focused intensity of someone who understood it was his destiny. He had crossed the Alps in winter, an act that most military commanders of his era considered not just difficult, but essentially impossible, losing thousands of men and most of his famous war elephants in the process. But he had done it. And then in the 2 years before Cannae, he had fought and won 2 significant battles against Roman armies on Italian soil, at the Trebia River, and at Lake Trasimene. Lake Trasimene in particular had been a masterpiece. Hannibal hiding his entire army in the hills above a narrow lakeshore road and ambushing a Roman army so completely that 15,000 Romans died for less than 3 hours. But Rome's response to these defeats was not fear. It was rage. And rage made them do exactly what Hannibal needed them to do. After the disaster at Lake Trasimene, the Roman Senate made a decision that would define the entire battle to come. They appointed 2 new consuls, Gaius Terentius Varro and Lucius Aemilius Paulus, to command the Roman army, and ordered them to find Hannibal and destroy him in open battle. And then they gave them the largest army Rome had ever assembled in a single force. 80,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, more soldiers than Rome had ever put on a single battlefield. The logic of the Roman Senate was completely understandable. Hannibal had beaten smaller Roman armies through cleverness and surprise. He could not possibly use cleverness and surprise against 80,000 men on an open plain in broad daylight. On open, flat ground with overwhelming numbers, Rome's legendary discipline and organization would simply grind down whatever Carthaginian force stood against them. There was no trick, no ambush, no maneuver that could defeat 80,000 professional Roman soldiers in a fair, open fight. The two consuls shared command, alternating days of authority, and they marched south with absolute confidence. They found Hannibal exactly where he wanted to be found, on a wide, flat plain near the town of Cannae, in the open, apparently waiting to be destroyed. On the morning of August the 2nd, 216 BC, both armies took their positions on the plain of Cannae. The Romans formed in their standard formation, the one that had won them battle after battle for generations. Infantry massed in the center in deep, tight columns. More men packed more densely than usual, designed to create an overwhelming central push that would simply drive through whatever stood in front of it. Cavalry on both flanks. The consuls looked at their 80,000 men assembled on the plain and felt the confidence of overwhelming force. Across the field, Hannibal's army looked back at them. Hannibal had approximately 50,000 men, significantly fewer than the Romans across from him in almost every category. His infantry was a mixture of different peoples from different parts of his long campaign: Africans, Spaniards, Gauls. His cavalry was his strong, faster, and more experienced than the Roman horsemen facing them. To any observer watching that morning, the outcome appeared obvious. Rome had more men, a stronger infantry, and the greatest military reputation in the world. Hannibal had 50,000 soldiers on an open plain. Nothing about what was about to happen appeared in any way possible. What Hannibal did next had never been done before in the history of recorded warfare, and it has never been executed as perfectly since. He arranged his infantry in a shape that looked like a straight line from the Roman side, but was actually a very deliberate curve. His weakest troops placed in the center, bulging forward toward the Romans, with his strongest African veterans positioned quietly on both ends of the line. When the battle began, the Roman infantry did exactly what it always did. It pushed forward with enormous power into the Carthaginian center. And the Carthaginian center did something that looked like weakness, but was actually the most precise military movement in ancient history.